This time we're taking a look at what is both a continuation of an older line and the start of a new line. It fits into both. And I'm talking, of course, about the Club Infinite Earths subscription from MattyCollector.com. And the Flash, which was supposed to have arrived a few months ago, finally shipped this month, and just this past week arrived in the mail. And the first figure we have here is the Flash, and of course you get a new mailer box, which oddly enough goes by the Signature Collection line. There no place is there Club Infinite Earths on here, which is kind of a little bit puzzling. But that is the mailer box. And inside, instead of a carded figure, we get a box. So a box within a box, which is actually pretty nice because you can remove the figure and keep the packaging without much damage. And as you can see here, we still have the old DC Universe logo with the swoosh. It's changed up now to the DC with the page turn type of a thing. You get some nice art here on the side of the character, and on the back the same art, just full size, and you do get a little write-up about the character, giving some of the background. So moving on to the actual figure here, the sculpt is pretty much uses a standard buck body, which most of these figures will use. Most of these figures will use parts that have already been made for, or already been used for, previous figures. So we're not expecting to see very many things altered for the characters, except for face and boots and little things like that. But this has a really nice face sculpt. You can see he's got a bit of a smile going on. Jay Garrick has always been pretty much a happy-go-lucky guy, and it's the sculpt there really captures his attitude. If you notice, he does have gray temples, gray hair, so he is an older Flash, not from the 30s and 40s, but a more modern day golden age Flash. The paint is actually very nice. It is pretty clean. There's only one little mess up here. You can see on his chest there, I got some yellow on my figure, and that's about it. The yellow here does look like it has a little bit of red bleeding through, but I think they did that on purpose. They gave it a little bit of shading there, like the rest of the figure on the red does have some shading, so I think they brought that in there with another color, and so it really isn't bleed through, it's just a different color to give it a little bit of shading on there. However, the design does break up when you position reposition him, but it's not too bad though. I really like the thunderbolt on his belt buckle there. You got a nice silvery paint there for his buckle. The blue here on his upper legs and lower legs is a little bit different. So with the right light conditions, you can tell that they don't exactly match. But again, that's not that big of a problem. I think there's only one more little nitpick that I have with the paint, and that's on the top here. I've got some scuffing on his vac metallized helmet. That is, it is a little bit annoying, I have to say. And I tried to, I don't want to scratch at it too much, make it worse. But it's, it's on the top of the helmet. You're not really going to see it. And I have seen some pictures of the figure where his little wing pieces up here have been really bent out of position. So I'm glad that those are really straight as can be, or straight as they are. Now for accessories, he really doesn't have any accessories. I thought they might include a stand for him. Maybe have the DC Infinite Earth's, name on one of the older DC Universe Classic stands. But they've not included anything. And, but aside from that, he really doesn't need an accessory because of his power is, self-contained. He runs really fast. And so he doesn't use any gimmick weapon or anything. So that's not really necessary. For articulation, it's standard for the DC Universe Classics, and I guess what will be now the DC Signature series. Of course, his head goes left and right, up, down, a little bit side to side, not too much. Arms go all the way around, out to the side, rotate, bend at the elbow, rotate at the wrist, ab articulation forward and back, waist articulation, legs forward, back, out to the side, rotate at the thigh, bend at the knee, and bend at the ankle. So really glad to finally have the Jay Garrick Flash to add to my JSA setup. Jason J. Peter Garrick makes his first appearance in Flash Comics #1 in 1940. And in that, as a college student in 1940, which was later changed to better fit the time period of within the comic universe, was retconned back to 1938, and he gained his speed powers from exposure to what they termed at the time as hard water. Well, hard water is a very common appearance, but what they meant was heavy water, which is used in nuclear reactions and nuclear experiments. And so his powers have a nuclear explanation. And he came up, once he discovered his powers, he came up with a suit based off his old football uniform without, at that point, they didn't have many pads. So that's where he got his little shirt and kind of jeans look here, or tight pants look there. And he used his dad's old army helmet. His dad was a World War I veteran, and he polished it up to make it look like Mercury's helmet. Now, originally, kind of in those early stories, they didn't pay attention to his having a secret identity, really. But that's something that they changed later. They thought all superheroes need a secret identity, so they went back to nobody knowing and who he was. And the explanation that when he was in public, he used his speed powers to vibrate so fast that people couldn't really tell what he looked like. So, something that they say that Superman does, when he's photographed, so that people don't make the connection between him and Clark Kent. His girlfriend, who would later become his wife, did eventually figure it out, and I guess, waited for him to tell her, and when he did so, they agreed to be engaged, and then, of course, got married. Now, he did have kind of a, I believe this was retconned, taking place later than the original stories in the 40s. But he had sort of a golden age reverse Flash in the form of Edward Claris, who was a rival scientist who managed to get the same batch of heavy water and also acquired speed powers and called himself Rival. He does make an appearance early on in the Jeff Johns JSA. Jay goes on to be a founder of the JSA, but he did leave quite soon after that, where becoming a reservist member, basically, and rejoining permanently at the very end of the war. Now, he was forced to retire in 1951 due to the House Un-American Activities Committee wanting to figure out who the JSA were, and when they refused to reveal their identities to the public, they basically retired. However, this retirement did not stick, and eventually they came out of retirement and reformed. Right before that, he fought along with the many others of the JSA, this being called Ian Karkull, whose power granted not only them but their wives and girlfriends an extremely slowed aging process. It's an explanation as to why they were so young in the comics. He did also spend some time in a limbo, extra-dimensional limbo, and for an undisclosed amount of time before re-emerging from that, and that also helped retard his aging. After Crisis on Infinite Earths happened, and all Earth 2 and Earth 1 and a bunch of other Earths were merged into the new DC universe, one of the changes was that the city where the Flash lived, which was Keystone City, had been sort of preserved in time away from the rest of the world, and all the rest was stricken from the memory of the entire world. So eventually the Silver Age Flash helped the Golden Age Flash to bring Keystone City back. And I think it was a period in the late 50s to the modern day back then, which would be in the 80s. Now, Jay is pretty much the heart of the JSA, one of the moral centers of the JSA. And he's right there when it reforms in the Jeff Johns, James Robinson, David Goyer era of the JSA. And during that time, he also is a big part, of course, being the first Flash. So he becomes the guardian, along with his wife, of Bart Allen, and I believe for a time J.J. Thunder would be the new wielder of the Thunderbolt power from Johnny Thunder. And in the last story of the DC universe, the combined universe, Jay became the chairman of the JSA, I believe, as well as the mayor of the town in which the JSA made their new headquarters, Monument Point. And the whole big thing there was that Monument Point became an attractor to people who wanted to attack the JSA. And he had to deal with a lot of political stuff in there. It was not a good way to end that series, I think. And, of course, just recently, in the New 52, you can see him as part of the Earth 2 book. And there he's a really young guy, just about to graduate or just graduated from college, doesn't really have any real direction. Joan, who was his girlfriend, and not the nicest person, if you ask me, from what I've seen of her, the way she was written, she kind of just blows him off and leaves for a job on the West Coast. And he runs into the actual god of Mercury. And thus I can assume that Mercury bestows some of his speed onto Jay Garrick to use as he would see fit. Now, the Flash has had several TV and movie appearances, more than you would think, for being a Golden Age character. Of course, the first time he's kind of got a pseudo appearance in the Justice League episode Legends, where it was supposed to be the Golden Age version of the Flash, but at the last minute they changed it to an analog, and that was the Streak, who was voiced by David Naughton. Now, if you had a sharp eye, you could see some references to the Golden Age Flash in later episodes of Justice League Unlimited. And if you look in the episode Flash and Substance, you can see the helmet, the iconic helmet, in the Flash Museum. He does appear in several episodes of Young Justice. One, he's just a cameo. And the other one has been yet to air, but it's going to be an all-Flash episode. So you're going to have Barry Allen, Jay Garrick, and Wally West, Kid Flash, all together. I think that episode is written by Peter David. On Brave and the Bold, Batman Brave and the Bold, voiced by Andy Milder. And some of you might remember the 90s Flash live-action television show. And he doesn't really appear in that, but Barry Allen's brother in that is named Jay, which is kind of a hint at the character. And I also believe you can hear several streets named Garrick. I think he does appear in Smallville as a cameo in flashbacks. I think it's mentioned that he is still alive and that he had kids somewhere. I guess that'll do it for the DC Signature Collection Golden Age Flash Jay Garrick. Stay tuned for more of these. Since I do have a subscription, I will be getting these figures once a month. Hopefully there's no more late shipping involved. I know next month I'm supposed to get the figure for the month as well as the subscription figure. And the figure for the month is Atrocitus, of the head of the Red Lantern Corps, and the subscription figure is the New God Metron in his Mobius chair. So those, I'm really eager to get Metron. Atrocitus, not so much, but I'm sure he'll be a cool figure anyway. So with that said, I'll say until my next video, see ya.